I was 27 years old when I met Michael Bradford at that charity gala 2 years ago, and I knew instantly he was exactly what I needed. Handsome, wealthy, from an established family with deep roots in the community, he was my golden ticket. But more importantly, he was trusting, almost naively so. The kind of man who believed in fairy tales and happily ever afters. Perfect. I'd spent years perfecting my image. Event coordinator by day, which gave me the perfect cover story and flexible schedule. Volunteer at animal shelters on weekends, because nothing says good person like loving puppies. Painting classes, book clubs, charity work. I built a resume of wholesome activities that made me look like the girl next door with ambition and heart. Michael fell for it immediately. The homemade lunches I'd bring to his office, store-bought, reheated, but he never knew, the sweet notes in his briefcase. I'd written dozens in advance, rotating them, the spontaneous weekend getaways, all meticulously planned weeks ahead. He thought it was all genuine romance. He had no idea he was being played. But the real masterpiece? Winning over his mother, Margaret. I'd done my research on the Bradford family before I ever accidentally bumped into Michael at that gala. I knew his mother was the gatekeeper, the one whose approval would make or break any relationship. Previous girlfriends had failed her tests. I wouldn't. That first Sunday dinner, I arrived with fresh flowers, peonies, because I'd learned they were Margaret's favorites. I brought whiskey for his father, the exact brand I'd seen in a family photo on social media. I complimented every dish, asked for recipes I'd never make, and feigned fascination with boring family photo albums. Margaret ate it up. Over the following months, I became the daughter she never had. I attended every family event, remembered every birthday, played with the nieces and nephews, even though children annoyed me. I diffused family arguments not because I cared, but because it made me look like a peacemaker. I organized Margaret's closet, brought dinner when she was tired, texted her articles about gardening even though I couldn't care less about plants. Every move was calculated. Every gesture had a purpose. When Michael proposed with his grandmother's ring, exactly as I'd subtly suggested months earlier by mentioning how much I loved vintage jewelry, I cried on cue. The tears were real enough. I'd practiced in front of mirrors until I could summon them at will. The wedding planning was my performance of a lifetime. I played the gracious bride who never complained, never demanded, never threw tantrums. When Margaret wanted to invite more relatives, I agreed sweetly while mentally calculating how much more money this family had than I'd initially thought. When his father worried about costs, I suggested budget-friendly options while ensuring every detail still screamed wealth and status. I became Margaret's shadow. Coffee dates, shopping trips, long phone calls about nothing. I invested hours into this woman because she was my insurance policy. As long as Margaret loved me, I was untouchable. I organized surprise parties, gave thoughtful gifts, played the perfect future daughter-in-law at every church function and neighborhood gathering. I made sure everyone in their social circle knew my name and thought I was wonderful. The bridal shower was almost too easy. 50 women hanging on my every word as I gave my tearful speech about family and love and belonging. I'd rehearsed it 3 times. The locket I gave Margaret, to my second mother, with love, cost me $200, but watching her sob over it was worth every penny. Everything was going according to plan. In less than 24 hours, I'd be Mrs. Sarah Bradford, with access to the family money, the social connections, and the comfortable life I'd been chasing for years. I'd worked too hard, played my role too perfectly, invested too much time to let anything ruin this. But then Margaret found something. Something I thought I'd buried so deep no one would ever find it. The day before my wedding, everything I'd carefully constructed began to crumble. And that's when the real story began. The call came at 6:15 a.m. on my wedding day. I was already awake, had been for hours actually, unable to sleep with a mixture of excitement and anxiety coursing through my veins. Tomorrow, no. Today, I would finally have everything I'd worked for. The ring was on my finger, the dress hung perfectly in my closet, and 200 guests would watch me become a Bradford. But when I saw Margaret's name flash across my phone screen that early, my stomach dropped. Hello. I answered, keeping my voice sleepy and sweet, like she'd woken me up. Sarah. Her voice was different.
Cold. Flat.
Not the warm, maternal tone I'd grown accustomed to. We need to talk. Now. Margaret, is everything okay? Did something happen with the venue? The flowers? Don't. The single word cut through the phone like a knife.
Don't pretend.
Not anymore. My heart started racing, but I forced myself to stay calm. I'd talked my way out of tight spots before. Whatever this was, I could handle it. I don't understand. What's wrong? My house. 30 minutes. Come alone. She hung up. I stared at the phone, my mind racing through possibilities. What could she have found? I'd been so careful, so meticulous. Every lie had been crafted perfectly, every story airtight. My past was buried in another state, under a different name, in a life I'd left behind 3 years ago. But clearly something had surfaced. I dressed quickly, jeans and a sweater, nothing too perfect, nothing that looked like I was trying. I needed to look worried, concerned, like a confused bride-to-be who had no idea what was happening. I practiced my expressions in the mirror. Innocent confusion, genuine concern, hurt bewilderment. The drive to the Bradford house felt like an eternity. My mind cycled through every possible scenario. Had someone from my past contacted them? Had a background check finally caught up with me? Had one of my carefully constructed references cracked under pressure? I'd been Sarah Mitchell for 3 years now. Before that, I was someone else entirely. Someone with debts, warrants, and a reputation that would destroy everything I'd built here. When I pulled into their circular driveway, I noticed Michael's car wasn't there. Good. Margaret wanted this conversation private. That either meant she was giving me a chance to explain, or she wanted to destroy me without witnesses. I walked to the front door, but before I could knock, it swung open. Margaret stood there, and I barely recognized her. The warm, smiling woman who'd hugged me goodbye just 12 hours ago was gone. In her place stood someone hard, cold, and absolutely furious. Come in. She stepped aside. I walked into the house I'd been in 100 times before, but it felt different now. Hostile. The family photos on the walls, including several with me in them, suddenly felt like evidence of my con rather than proof of my belonging. Margaret led me to the kitchen and gestured to a chair. On the table sat a manila folder, thick with papers. My blood ran cold. Sit down, Sarah. Or should I say, Jessica? The name hit me like a physical blow. Jessica Turner. The name I'd buried, the identity I'd left behind in Nevada 3 years ago. How did she find it? How did she connect them? I opened my mouth to deny it, but Margaret slammed her hand on the folder. Don't. I have everything right here. Driver's license, arrest records, court documents, debt collectors still looking for you. She pulled out paper after paper, spreading them across the kitchen table like a deck of cards. Identity theft.
Fraud.
Check kiting. Theft by deception. Shall I continue? My carefully constructed mask began to crack. I could feel it slipping, feel the real me, the desperate, calculating Jessica Turner, starting to show through. Margaret, I can explain. Can you explain why you targeted my son? Why you researched our family? Why you've been playing a role for 2 years? She pulled out more papers. These were worse. So much worse. Printed screenshots of old social media posts I thought I'd deleted. Messages to a friend where I'd explicitly discussed my plan to find and marry a wealthy man. Notes I'd made about the Bradford family, their net worth, their social connections, their vulnerabilities. And worst of all, a photo of me with another man. A man I'd been engaged to just 6 months before meeting Michael. An engagement I'd never mentioned because it had ended badly, very badly, when his family had discovered my past and paid me $50,000 to disappear. How did you? I couldn't finish the sentence. Does it matter? Margaret's voice shook with rage. I found it. That's what's important. The question now is, what do we do about it? I looked at this woman I'd manipulated for 2 years, this woman who'd loved me like a daughter, who'd cried over a locket I'd bought just to manipulate her emotions. I'd studied her, learned her weaknesses, exploited her desire for a daughter. I'd made her love me, and now she hated me. The wedding is in 8 hours, she continued. 200 guests are arriving. The venue is prepared. The food is ordered. Everything is ready. She leaned forward, her eyes boring into mine. But my son will not marry a con artist. He will not marry a liar. He will not marry you. Margaret, please. Here's what's going to happen. Her voice was steel. You're going to text Michael right now. You're going to tell him you can't go through with the wedding. You're going to break his heart, but you're going to set him free. And if I don't? She smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Then I show him everything in this folder. I call the police about your outstanding warrants. I contact every single person in your new life and tell them exactly who you really are. I destroy you so completely that you'll wish you'd never heard the name Bradford. I felt the walls closing in. Everything I'd worked for, every carefully laid plan, every calculated move, all of it was crumbling. You have one chance to walk away with some dignity, Margaret said.
Take it.
Disappear. Start over somewhere else, with someone else. But stay away from my family. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. I looked at Margaret's face, the face that had smiled at me with such genuine love and warmth for 2 years. I'd fooled her completely, and now she'd caught me. But as I stared at that phone, something shifted inside me. Margaret thought she'd won. She thought she was protecting her precious son, saving him from the big bad wolf. What she didn't realize was that I still had cards to play. Information I'd gathered over 2 years of intimate access to this family. Secrets I'd learned, vulnerabilities I'd discovered, leverage I'd been saving for exactly this kind of emergency. If Margaret thought she could just dismiss me, pay me off, and send me away quietly like that last family had done, she was very, very wrong. I looked up at her, and for the first time in 2 years, I let her see the real me. Not sweet, perfect Sarah, but Jessica Turner, survivor, fighter, someone who didn't go down without burning everything around her first. You want me to disappear quietly? I asked softly. To just walk away and let you protect your perfect family? Yes. I smiled. A real smile this time. Not the practiced, perfect one I'd been using for years.
No.
Margaret's face went pale. Excuse me? I said no. I stood up slowly, pushing back from the table. You think you can just threaten me and I'll run away with my tail between my legs? You think I spent 2 years building this life just to let you tear it down in one morning? You have no choice. I have plenty of choices, Margaret. I walked around the table, picked up one of the photos she'd printed, the one of me with my ex-fiancé. See, the thing about spending 2 years embedded in a family is that you learn things. Private things. Secret things. Things that people would pay a lot of money to keep quiet. Her jaw clenched. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. I sat on the edge of the table, relaxed now. The mask was fully off, and it felt liberating. Let's talk about your husband, Richard. Good old Dick Bradford, pillar of the community. Tell me, does Michael know about his father's little side investments? The offshore accounts? The creative accounting that keeps your lifestyle so comfortable while paying significantly less in taxes than you should. Margaret's face went from pale to red. You have no proof. I have copies of everything. Documents from Richard's study that I photographed over the past year, just in case I ever needed insurance. I pulled out my phone. Wanna see? They're backed up in 3 separate cloud accounts. Very secure. Richard would never be so careless. He wasn't careless. I was patient. I scrolled through my phone. Let's see, what else do I have? Oh yes, your daughter Emma's little prescription pill problem. The one she thinks nobody knows about? I know which pharmacy she uses, which doctor writes the prescriptions, and I have photos of her medicine cabinet. Very interesting collection she's got there. Margaret stood abruptly. Leave my daughter out of this. And then there's your brother, Uncle Tom. I tilted my head, enjoying watching her squirm. The one who comes to Sunday dinners and acts like such a devoted family man. Does his wife know about the Ashley Madison account? The hotel rooms charged to his business credit card? I have screenshots, credit card statements, even some interesting text messages he was careless enough to leave open on his phone during Christmas dinner. "You're a monster," Margaret whispered. "No, I'm a survivor." I stood up and walked toward her. "You wanted to play hardball, Margaret. You wanted to threaten me with exposure and destruction. But here's what you didn't consider. I've been preparing for this possibility since day one. You think I didn't know someone might eventually dig into my past? I've been collecting insurance this entire time. Michael will never forgive you for this. Michael will never know about any of this," I said calmly. "Because here's what's going to happen instead of your little plan. You're going to smile at that wedding today. You're going to walk me down the aisle alongside Richard since my mother is deceased. You're going to give a beautiful speech at the reception about how happy you are to welcome me into the family. Absolutely not. And in return, I'll keep every secret I've learned. The tax fraud, the addiction, the affairs, and about a dozen other things I haven't even mentioned yet. Your family's reputation stays intact. Your son stays happy. Everyone wins." Margaret's hands were shaking. "You can't blackmail me into." "I'm not blackmailing you," I interrupted. "I'm negotiating. There's a difference. Blackmail would be if I demanded money. I don't want your money, Margaret. I just want what I've earned. My place in this family." "Earned? You've lied about everything. So, has everyone in your family?" I shot back. "The only difference is that my lies are about my past, while yours are happening right now. You want to talk about fraud? Let's discuss that charity your family runs, the one where 60% of donations go to administrative costs that somehow fund your country club memberships and vacation homes." Margaret sank back into her chair, and I could see the fight leaving her. She'd come into this confrontation thinking she held all the power, all the leverage. Now she was realizing she'd walked into a trap. "You've been planning this from the beginning," she said quietly. "Not exactly. I genuinely tried to make this work legitimately at first. But I also learned a long time ago to have a backup plan. People like you, wealthy, powerful people, you always think you can just brush away people like me. Pay us off, threaten us, make us disappear. But I'm not going anywhere. Michael deserves to know the truth. Michael deserves to be happy. And I will make him happy. I'll be the perfect wife, the perfect mother to his children, the perfect daughter-in-law to you. Nothing has to change except that now you know the truth, and you know what I'm capable of." Margaret looked at me with something between disgust and grudging respect. "How did you become like this?" For a moment, just a brief moment, I considered telling her the truth. About growing up poor with a drug-addicted mother. About being shuffled through foster homes. About learning early that the world doesn't give you anything. You have to take it. About the men who'd used me, the systems that had failed me, the desperation that had driven me to become Jessica Turner and then Sarah Mitchell. But I didn't. She didn't deserve my truth. "Life made me like this," I said simply. "And now life has given me you and your family. I suggest you make peace with it. And if I don't, if I tell Michael anyway." I pulled up a photo on my phone and showed it to her. It was a document, a deed specifically. The deed to this house, the Bradford family home that had been in the family for 3 generations. "See this?" I said. "Notice anything interesting about it?" She squinted at the screen. Then her eyes went wide. That can't be. A second mortgage. Taken out 6 months ago. For $800,000. Strange, isn't it? Especially since you and Richard told Michael you own this house free and clear. Where did that money go, Margaret? Because it certainly didn't go to paying off other debts or making improvements. Her silence told me everything. "So here's the real question," I continued. "If you expose me, I expose your family. Everything comes out. The finances, the affairs, the addictions, the lies you've all been telling. Michael learns that everyone he trusted has been lying to him, including his mother. And when the dust settles, I might be gone, but your family will be destroyed too. Is that really what you want?" Margaret stared at me for a long moment. I could see her mind working, calculating, trying to find a way out that didn't exist. "You're going to ruin him eventually anyway," she finally said. "Maybe. Or maybe I'll be the best thing that ever happened to him. Maybe I'll give you beautiful grandchildren and host perfect holiday dinners and make your son genuinely happy for the rest of his life. You don't actually know which version of this story you'll get. Because you're a liar and a manipulator. Because I'm adaptable. I corrected. And right now, my best option is to be exactly what Michael thinks I am. I have no reason to hurt him or this family, as long as you don't give me one. I walked toward the kitchen door, then paused and turned back. The wedding starts at 2 p.m. I expect to see you in the front row, smiling. I expect a warm hug before I walk down the aisle. And I expect your toast at the reception to be absolutely glowing. Can you do that, Margaret? She didn't answer, but I saw the defeat in her eyes.
Good.
Oh, and Margaret? Destroy that folder. Burn it, shred it, whatever. Because if Michael ever sees it, if anyone ever sees it, then everything I have on your family goes public immediately. We're tied together now. My success is your success. My destruction is your destruction. Remember that. I left her sitting there in her kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of who I really was, trapped by the evidence of who her family really was. As I drove away, I should have felt victorious. I'd won. Margaret couldn't touch me now. The wedding would go on as planned. I'd become Sarah Bradford in just a few hours, and my future would be secure. But as I pulled up to a stoplight, I saw my reflection in the rearview mirror. For the first time in years, I didn't recognize the woman staring back at me. What had I become? I'd started this whole thing just wanting security, wanting the life I'd been denied as a child. But somewhere along the way, I'd turned into exactly the kind of monster I'd always hated. The kind of person who used others, who manipulated emotions, who destroyed families for personal gain. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Morning. Beautiful. Can't wait to marry you today. I'm the luckiest man alive. I felt something twist in my chest. Guilt? Regret? I wasn't even sure anymore. I typed back. Can't wait. I love you. As I hit send, I realized I didn't even know if it was a lie anymore. Had I actually fallen for Michael somewhere along the way? Or was I just so deep in the role that I couldn't tell the difference between the performance and reality? Another text came through, but this one made my blood run cold. Unknown number. Congratulations on your wedding, Jessica. Shame about what happened in Nevada. Would hate for your new husband to find out. Call me. My hands started shaking. Someone else knew. Someone else had found Jessica Turner. And they wanted something.